There's something kind of haunting about an empty street, right? A silent schoolhouse, a home that's just forgotten. All across the American landscape, there are these places that were once humming with life, but now they're basically just whispers in the wind. These are America's ghost towns, and we're going to dive deep into their mystery.
So, just how widespread is this phenomenon? Well, the current estimate puts the number of known ghost towns in the U.S. at a staggering 3,800. Yeah, you heard that right. This isn't just a few old Western movie sets we're talking about. This is a huge collection of forgotten communities woven right into the fabric of the country.
So what is it that kills a town? I mean, how does a community, buzzing with people, hopes, and dreams, just vanish from the map? That's really the big question we're digging into in this explainer.
Okay, first things first. Let's be super clear on what we mean by ghost town. It isn't just some old ruin in a field. We're talking about a place that was once a fully functioning community. A place people called home. But it's been abandoned and it still has significant stuff left standing, like the skeleton of what it used to be. Now, every ghost town has its own unique story, for sure. But the reasons they died off? They usually fall into just a few key patterns. So, let's play detective. We're going to uncover the main culprits one by one.
All right, our first culprit is probably the most famous one. The classic tale of boom and bust. It's that dramatic story of fortunes made and lost, tied directly to whatever was in the ground right under the town's feet.
Can you imagine building an entire town on just one single, fragile promise? Well, for thousands of these places, that promise was a vein of gold, or maybe a big seam of coal, or a huge forest of timber. Their entire reason for existing was tied to that one thing. And that one thing, well, it was always going to run out. And the speed of this whole cycle is just breathtaking. I mean, look at this timeline. It's the classic story of a place like Bodie, California. In just 4 years, a town explodes from nothing to 5,000 people, all chasing a dream. But then the silver dries up, the mine closes, and boom. Just over a decade later, it's practically empty. The lifeblood was just cut off and the town bled out, fast.
It's like you had two completely different realities. The boom was this whirlwind of opportunity, of growth, the sound of saloons and people full of hope. But the bust? That was the sound of doors closing for the very last time. It was a mass exodus, leaving behind nothing but debt, decay, and just a profound, heavy silence.
Okay, let's move on to our second culprit. This one's a little more subtle, but honestly, it's just as deadly. Being bypassed by progress. You see, sometimes the very thing that helps build a nation can leave some of its own communities behind in the dust.
This is basically the story of America's main street, Route 66. You had all these towns like Glen Rio on the Texas-New Mexico border that literally lived and breathed because of the steady stream of cars passing through. Then, a new, faster interstate gets built just a couple miles away. And just like that, almost overnight, the traffic disappears. The gas stations, the motels, the diners, they have no customers, so they close up shop, one by one, and the town just slowly starves.
And that's the thing, right? Progress is a real double-edged sword. I mean, the Transcontinental Railroad brought life to countless new settlements across the West, but for every single town that boomed because it got a spot on the new line, another one, maybe just a few miles away, was left to completely wither and die. Now, our third and final culprit is the most powerful one of all. Because sometimes a town doesn't disappear because of economics or engineering. Sometimes it's because the environment itself hands down a final non-negotiable verdict.
Mother Nature's power can be just overwhelming. A town on a floodplain might get washed away one too many times. A farming community could be totally wiped out by a decade of drought. And sometimes the disaster is tragically man-made, like the underground mine fire in Centralia, Pennsylvania. It started back in 1962 and it is still burning today, making that town completely unlivable. In these cases, people aren't just leaving for a better job, they're literally fleeing for their lives.
So, we've met the culprits, resources running dry, the relentless march of progress, and the unforgiving power of nature. Now, let's kind of bring it all together and see what these echoes in the dust can really teach us. So, when we break down the causes, a really clear pattern starts to emerge. That whole boom and bust cycle we talked about? That's the single biggest killer. It's responsible for almost half of all ghost towns. But look how close behind being bypassed by new roads and rails is. Together, these economic forces, they account for the vast majority of these lost communities. And here's the kicker. This is why all of this matters so much right now. The story of the ghost town, it isn't just history. The exact same forces are at play today. I mean, think about towns that rely on a single factory that shuts down, or communities being completely reshaped by the rise of remote work and the fall of old-school retail. The names change, the technologies change, but the patterns of disruption, they are eerily familiar.
Which, it leaves us with one final, kind of lingering question. Take a look around your own community, its economy, its infrastructure, its relationship with the environment. What is it really built on? And how resilient is it to the changes that are inevitably coming in the future? Is your town built to last?